Thank you very much. Good morning. Firstly, I'd like to thank His Royal Highness for this opportunity. We admire greatly the tireless efforts he makes to create a better world. In Bhutan, we believe that development must have a purpose because that gives meaning to us as people, to our lives. And the purpose of development must go even beyond sustainable development. Sustainable development is a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient. Purpose of development, we in Bhutan believe, is to have create a flourishing society where people can lead very meaningful and hopefully happy lives and make the most of this gift of life that we treasure so much. And in fact, Bhutan's development has been guided by this idea that at the end of the day, what people really care about is having a good life, however you define it, and that if that is so, then that it should be the purpose of development and indeed the work of the government to try and create the conditions which will enable that to happen. In Bhutan, we have pursued this idea for now over 40 years, and maybe I can share, given the limited time, very briefly some of the work we are doing. In terms of more precise metrics, which is what we are talking about here, we actually started our work in 2008 only. Briefly, gross national happiness, our development philosophy, is about meeting the needs of both the body and soul, consistent with sustainable use of our natural resources. And we find that this can be this will be best achieved if we pursue development in a holistic fashion. So in our development policy-making framework, we look at 9 areas. Together, we believe they represent all the conditions necessary for this type of flourishing society we want to create. And basically, these 9 areas are psychological well-being, living standards, jobs, economic growth, etc., health, education, good governance, cultural diversity and resilience, community vitality, time use, work-life balance, so critical, ecological diversity and resilience. And since that is the main subject here, there are some of the things Bhutan has done in the environment area is forest cover of 80%, over 53% of our country is declared as protected areas. We have committed ourselves to a carbon neutral development, and we have made a commitment to go nationwide in agriculture. But out of these 9 areas, 4 areas are quite new, so maybe those 4 areas I'll touch briefly because they demonstrate then this holistic development that we are talking about. And these 4 areas are psychological well-being, time use, cultural diversity, and resilience. And maybe I'll just pick up one of them, community vitality and maybe time use. Why is it so important? If you want to have a flourishing society, as people, we draw meaning in our lives from strong, meaningful relationships, from acts of altruism, volunteerism, strong trust in society. And we have to recognize that government policies, both its presence and absence, actually affects us in everything we do, thereby showing that there's opportunities to actually even foster this kind of very desirable conditions in our society. Time use. Time use is probably at the end of the day the most important reason to look at if you want to really foster development consistent with the flourishing society I was talking about. Simply because time is something you cannot buy. So in our outlook we say time is life, and that if you want to lead a happy life, the simplest thing to do is to ensure there's alignment between things you really value and the way you use your time. And from a government perspective, we are trying to figure out creative ways to allow this time use balance to happen so that people can actually find enough time to spend on work, hopefully meaningful work, leisure during which they boost their psychological well-being, doing yoga, meditation, but also spending time with loved ones or volunteering their time, which is so important. We are now trying to take this body of work to the UN, and hopefully we want to be able to present something next year at the 68th United Nations General Assembly. And very briefly, if I could share the work that we are going to share, the purpose will be this idea of promoting the well-being and happiness of the world. And in terms of the strategies, in terms of the new behaviors that we must learn to achieve that, we have set 3 filters for this work that we are commissioning a group of experts. And the 3 filters are: one is ecological sustainability, critical. The second is this idea of fair distribution or greater equity in our societies. It's in our own enlightened self-interest to have this. And third, that sustainable development is a minimum. But we must see, and we have the knowledge and the technology for greater efficiency in use of all our resources, so that we can pass down a world, not just what we inherited, but hopefully a better one. I thank you for your time.